Top of the morning, y'all. Good to see you. Luka and the Mavericks, staying alive, avoiding the sweep last night, improving to 3-0 in must-win games this postseason. As you can see right now on your screen, the Dallas superstar, he averages nearly 37 points in elimination games. That's the best mark in league history in this kind of situation. They made it rain threes, and then the game was delayed 16 minutes because it was literally raining inside. No word yet, though, on who Mark Cuban fired because of it. Welcome to The Sweat, though, presented by DraftKings. I'm Emerson Latzia. A ton on tap here for the next 55 minutes. So DFS and sports betting knowledge galore on the ice, the links, and the diamond, which, by the way, includes a special guest here in studio, Das Rocket, Jared Carabas, our newest DraftKings teammate. Yes, we talk Red Sox. Their scorching turnaround here in the month of May, his juiciest take for the rest of the way this season, and why he's showing love for his biggest rival, the Yankees and their fans. Batting leadoff in our show this morning, NBA panel, DraftKings contributor Julian Edlow, Rotowire's Nick Whalen. Good to see you guys. Before we dive into Heat and Celtics Game 5 tonight, the Mavs living to fight another day. As we've mentioned, Game 5 is going to be tomorrow back at Golden State. Is your money on a gentleman's sweep here, Jules?
Yeah, it feels that way. We saw how Golden State responded. They had a chance to close out Memphis on the road in the last series. They got mopped, and they came home and took care of business, and it feels like a pretty similar situation. Not to mention, when this NBA Finals is set to start, whatever it is, next Thursday, if the Warriors can close this one out at home, they can just hang out for a week at home, rest, prepare for this Eastern Conference team that's going to be coming off a slugfest. Whoever it is, we know it's going at least 6, and we know both of these teams are very dinged up right now. Just a huge advantage for Golden State if they can just close this out at home and go into cruise control, and the spot kind of dictates that they will. Obviously, not a hot take as a 7-point favorite, but laying the points with them, money line parlay piece, whatever. I think Golden State's in a good spot.
Whalen, in NBA history, 146 teams have fallen into a 3-0 series deficit. 0 have gone on to win the series. So if the Mavs are going to become the first team to do it, I'm just saying it's going to have to look a lot like last night.
Yeah, it is. I think, I think last night was pretty much the blueprint for Dallas. And all of the three-pointers that were not falling in what felt like a must-win Game 3 started falling in Game 4. They had 20 three-pointers as a team, 20 of 43. Reggie Bullock was 0 of 7 from 3 in Game 3. He goes 6 of 10. Dorian Finney-Smith got in on the act. Maxi Kleber emerged from his basically a case of the yips, it looked like, in Game 3. So this is definitely the blueprint for Dallas. I mean, the question is, can you do this 3 more times? And 2 of those games are going to be on the road. Probably not. You laid out the numbers. It's overwhelming, I would say, in favor of teams that are up 3-0 to win the series. So I think we're probably headed toward a gentleman's sweep, but I also thought we were headed toward a real sweep last night. I thought Golden State was going to close it out. I think the thing is, if you're Dallas, Golden State played pretty well. You only won this game by 10, despite hitting 20 three-pointers. Golden State shot almost 50% itself from the field, only had 8 turnovers. If Dallas doesn't have this otherworldly night from 3, this may be another game that they lose in this series. So I know a lot of it was Golden State, piling on points in the fourth quarter, but obviously it's good to get the win if you're Dallas, but I think we're probably heading toward a 5-game gentleman's sweep.
Okay, Mavericks plus 1,500 here to win the conference. Golden State Warriors currently minus 3,500 there on the DK Sportsbook. Celtics minus 190 to win the East. Heat plus 160 there. Let's go to that showdown contest for tonight. It's going to be Game 5. It's in Miami. Jimmy Butler is going to cost you the most in the captain spot, 16-8. Then you got Tatum, Brown, and Adebayo before we get into a long list of questionable players. Who is your favorite choice for captain, Jules?
Yeah, I mean, the injury list in this game is ridiculous, and it's not just the Heat rolling out an injury report that's all garbage. There's a lot of guys that are actually have their status up in the air for this game, particularly Lowry and Hero. So, and on the Celtics side, it wouldn't surprise me if Marcus Smart or Robert Williams played or didn't play. I think they're both genuinely questionable. So we have that going on. If you believe our friends here in Boston over at the Sports Hub, who we have some shows with DraftKings, They seem to think that a couple of Heat players did not make the trip back to Miami due to COVID, which Ira Winderman, beat reporter for the Heat, shot down, but didn't completely close the door. I don't know what's going on there or not, but there might be more news to come on this game. So it makes it really difficult. Long story short, it's really hard to do anything until we know the list. But I'll say, fading Jimmy Butler is a definite. He looked awful coming off of the knee injury that cost him the second half. So him being the most expensive player doesn't make sense to me. I would captain Bam Adebayo if Rob Williams were to sit and look for that bounce back game with him, especially with Butler not being 100%. Otherwise, I would just look to go Tatum or Brown.
Okay, how cautious? You obviously have to be cautious here, Nick, when it comes to building out this lineup tonight. But like right now, from what we know, who is your captain going to be?
Right now I'm leaning toward Tatum. I think Julian's on the right track about Jimmy Butler. I mean, there's a case to be made here that we just never really know what any of these injury statuses mean. The Heat especially have been throwing out these phantom injury reports really since the beginning of the playoffs. And obviously Butler is truly injured. He missed the second half of Game 3, looked awful in Game 4. It wouldn't shock me if he came out and had a good game in Game 5. I still wouldn't captain him. I'm not necessarily against throwing him in the lineup, almost as like a reverse psychology contrarian play. Jimmy Butler is almost never somebody who you'd say is contrarian, but given the situation, I think a lot of people are going to be of the same mind as Julian and I when it comes to his status. So I'm looking at Jason Tatum at captain. You could still fit a build where you get Adebayo in your lineup, you get Jaylen Brown in your lineup, Victor Oladipo, who's at 5,600 in a non-captain spot. I kind of like him again. And then, you're looking at a couple bottom of the barrel options, but not too low. You're not talking guys who might not play. Like, you can still fill out your roster with like a Gabe Vincent and a Derek White, guys who we know are going to have roles for these teams.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, we obviously know a lot here is going to hinge on who's in and who's out, Whalen. So value for the showdown contest. I mean, you just named White. You got any other guys?
Yeah, White and Vincent are the two, who I really settled on as you're trying to, kind of formulate the bottom of these lineups. I mean, Duncan Robinson is the guy who probably swung a lot of contests in the last game.
Yep.
We'll see. I mean, it was such a blowout that it felt like they wanted to get him out there just to build some confidence. He's obviously lost a ton of confidence, fell out of the rotation at the beginning of the playoffs. I mean, he's a guy that could very well be a DNP if this is a close game. Or he's someone who, maybe they built some trust in with how he shot the ball in Game 4, and he starts eating into Max Strus's minutes. But for me, I think the value is going to be found there. I mean, Peyton Pritchard, another one of those guys, at least he's going to have a role. Some nights he might not give you much. Other nights he might give you, 3 3-pointers and 5 assists. That's great. So those are kind of the 3 guys that I'm keeping an eye on in the value slots.
Yeah, Pritchard and Robinson, too, were a couple guys in that garbage time the other night. They were just making threes and buckets left and right there. Jules, who do you like for value tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Duncan Robinson necessarily is only getting those minutes because of the blowout either. He's a guy that gets minutes when Hero is out, and if you add Lowry on top of that, now you're looking at a role. Whether Strus is playing well and getting his normal minutes or not, I feel like. So I'll just go even further down on the trickle down effect if Miami is without that backcourt combination, and go to Caleb Martin, who's only $2,700. And looked pretty good in the last game. And he's a guy that they trust with minutes. So he's somebody that I think fits well in this series. He's not a Hero or a Duncan Robinson that's a defensive liability. He's a two-way player that they trust on offense. And for $2,700, coming off 25 minutes, 22 fantasy points, I wouldn't mind throwing him in here as long as at least one of those guards are out, preferably 2.
All right, well, it's been a back-and-forth series, Jules. A series of big quarters, as everyone's been talking about, big runs by each team. Celtics right now, we got a 2-point favorite on the road. Which way are you leaning here when it comes to the spread?
Yeah, I don't think I have my green goggles on here when I say that if you've watched every minute of the series, I think most people would say that the Celtics have been the better team, and you can tell that they are. They've just had some absolute implosions. And those seem to become lesser and lesser, or have a lower chance of happening the more that the Celtics' backs are against the wall. And I don't know if you can win a championship only responding when your back is against the wall. They haven't led a series since they beat the Nets. The only series lead they had was when they won 4-3 against Milwaukee. And Jason Tatum acknowledged that post-game last game and said, we need to find a way to build off of these wins and take command in the series and play like we're coming off a loss in this Game 5, which I like to hear. So I'm going to back the better. I'm going to back the better team. I think this is a spot that the Celtics can come out and win this game, especially if Butler is not himself. So I would really like Rob Williams to be out there, even more so than Marcus Smart if I'm backing the Celtics in this game. I thought, given the post-game interviews, the Mavericks saying they had a terrific season, happy to be there after Game 3, Curry saying they're playing with house money. I'm with Nick. I thought the Warriors were going to sweep them, and they didn't. So you can't just base it off of this post-game interview. But I'm going to buy in, take the better team in this game.
Hey, Nick.
The officiating crew, by the way, real quick, Mark Davis is the crew chief.
Okay.
Home underdogs are 4-10 with this officiating crew.
Okay, well, interesting, Whalen, because I was going to ask you if you want to grab the points here with the home side, because, hey, maybe perhaps they've been planning for this Game 5 since stealing Game 3 in Beantown last Saturday.
Yeah, maybe they have. I mean, it depends partially on what Tyler Hero looks like. I mean, there was some report yesterday that, this is an injury that they thought would keep him out for a month during the regular season, and now he might play 2 games later. That seems either to be an erroneous report or, unlikely that we actually see him tonight. But I think we're going to see certainly a closer game than what we saw. I mean, Miami's not going to start 0-14 from the field at home tonight. And I've really all these Celtics games dating back to round 1 against the Nets and certainly in round 2 against the Bucks, it's like every time I expected something to happen, the opposite happened. Like just when you thought, either Milwaukee or Boston would take control of the series, the other team would win and things would even back up. So everything is now feeling like it's moving in Boston's direction. They have all this momentum after a big Game 4 win. I think the smart pick is to take the Celtics with the points on the road. Miami's banged up. Boston's banged up too, but the injuries don't seem to be really affecting them quite as much as they are for Miami. But it feels like something weird is going to happen tonight. For some reason, I kind of want to back the Heat at home. It feels like they kind of knew they were going to lose Game 4 or were okay with it and want to win Game 5 at home. I'm doing a really bad job laying out exactly why I feel this way, other than I'm trying to fade myself, essentially.
All good. I got one more for you. I need you quick on it. Games 1, 2, and 3 went over the total. Game 4, we know, wasn't under. It was just ice cold from the start. So tonight, looking at this series, 204, the lowest it's been through 4 games. You like the over or the under here, Jules?
I have no idea. It's been all over the place. I'm not going to pretend like I have a take on the total. I think because it's set so low and because we're coming off such a poor shooting game, I would just lean to the over and say that these guys that are, some of the best players in the world in the Eastern Conference Finals are going to be able to score. So give me the over at a discount, I guess, if I got to go there.
All right, what do you want, Whalen?
Same here. I think we're seeing a little bit of an overcorrection. I mean, the first 3 games went over this total all pretty easily. And I think, the line is a little bit spooked by the Heat putting up 82 points in Game 4, including 11 in the first quarter. So even if you like Boston by a lot tonight, Miami's probably not scoring 82 points again.